Good morning. So we're just finishing off Shin Nun Vav today. We've got to do Sif Base, but yesterday in Shin Nun Vav Sif Aleph, we spoke about an Amas Hamayim, this brook of water that goes through a chotzer, and the problem is that it's got a din of a caramelis, and it's going through this chotzer, and the guy wants to draw the water from the caramelis into his rishus, so he's got a problem. So the solution was that he builds a little mechitza as described yesterday and is in the pictures there. That little mechitza underneath that brick wall, and then that makes into a shayochid, and you can transfer as described yesterday. Now, in Sif Beis today, we're talking about a slightly different situation, and that is where, if you take a look at the picture on the next page, which is picture 16, you've got the two little houses there. You've got a chotzer on the back of those two houses, and then you've got this wall which backs onto the sea. And the wall is breached. So this fellow, the question is, what is the effect of that breach, and can he draw water from the sea into the chotzer? So let's take a look. It says the Mechaber Seif Beis, chotzer shenifritza. You've got a chotzer which is breached. Ulashan yom over ala pirza, and the sea is sort of approaching this breach. If the wall is not complete and you haven't got a gap of more than 10 amos wide in this breach, so then you're allowed to draw water and bring it into the house. Now, why is that? So if let's see the Mishnah Berurah up till there. This is Sif Kotan Yud. Even though the water there is deeper than 10 tefachim, and it's wider than arba'ah. And it's not the same as what we spoke about in Sif Aleph with the river going through the back of his garden. Since the sea is sort of is approaching the chotzer, it's not sort of going through it like it was in yesterday's learning in the Sif Aleph. In our situation, the sea is pretty much like a burr in his chotzer. And the mechitzas of the chotzer allow you to access the seawater and bring it up. Since there isn't a pirza of more than 10 amos, and therefore you're okay. It's as if you've got good mechitzas there. As opposed to yesterday's learning, where he's got these mechitzas underneath the brick walls on either side of the back of his chotzer, and therefore it's got a din of it's chelekes rishus, and the yesterday's amud you've got a problem of being a caramelis. Okay, Yud Aleph. Sif Kotan Yud Aleph. We need to... back to the Mechaber. So that's if there's a breach of less than 10. But Nifritza b'melua, if however it's open much more, or there is a gap of more than 10, im nisha b'mokum shenifratz gedudim gvar asara, if you've got little bits of the wall left over, v'hamayim mechasim or so, and the water just covers it over, then you're allowed to draw water from the water into the chotzer. You can't bring it into the house unless you do a proper mechitza of 10 over the water. If nothing is left of the wall, then then you cannot bring it into the chotzer. So if you look now at picture number 17, so that's what this last bit is describing. So there you've got either the whole back wall is open, or you've got a breach more than 10 amos. So in that situation, then it depends if there's gedudim. So if there are gedudim there, and the water covers it, you're allowed to take from the water into the chotzer. But also lachnis in the baz you can't bring into the house. So let's do the Mishnah on that. Gedudin gavoyin asar. Because if you've got little bits of the wall there, then it's as if the mechitzas are still standing, and therefore you're allowed to take from the water into the chotzer. Because sometimes the water will subside a little bit, and the mechitzas are recognizable. You can see them. And therefore, even on situations where the water is covering the leftover wool, the Chacham allowed it. But they don't allow you to take the water into the house, only into the chotzer. Why? Because the house is rochik min hamachitza, is quite far away. La'olam ein hamachitza nearest afilu kashamayim sheikim, and therefore the machitza there is not visible even when the mayim is covering subsides a little bit. Gavoya asara. So he said it's also lachnis in the bias unless you make a machitza gavoya asara lamayim v'roch ba'al machitza. And it's wider than the mechitza. V'roch ba'al mechitza ein sorech al pnei kol hapirit. So you don't need it to be wider than the mechitza across the whole of this breach. V'rak sheyisem hashetach ad shelo yisha ela ese amas parts to shir pesach. All you need to do is make sure that the opening, the gap, is less than 10 amas. Then it's back to like picture 6. Picture whatever it is, the first picture 16. Because then it's less than 10 amas and then you're okay. But lo nishar gedudim, we said, if there's no little bits of the fence left, then the Chaba finished off and said it's asa afilu lemalas b'chotzer. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Tezvov, lo nishar gedudim rotzolema shelo nishar gedudim gavoy masor. The little bits of the fence more than 10 tefachim high did not remain. Then asa afilu lemalas vuadin letalta b'chotzer. And moreover, if you're dealing with situation in picture 17 where it's all been exposed at the back wall has now disappeared, then you can't even carry in the chotzer. Since it's open more than 10 amas to a mokum ha'oso, i.e. the sea, therefore that destroys your whole back wall, and therefore it destroys your ability to carry in the chotzer itself. Bamed Ramamurim, when is the above true? Kashein losh nayam omak hasar. That's only true when the sea is not 10 tefachim deep. Avalim loshen omak asar. But if it is shamayim shot fu karkois hachotz v'nasi guma amuka asar tefachim, and it's sort of created like a bar of 10 tefachim deep. To pnei guma gufa nechshav lemechitza ben hamayim uven hachotza. Then the sides of the guma serve as the mechitza. Or mutzah letalta b'chotza. Then you could carry it in the chotza. Aval also the malas mena, but you can't draw water from it, kivin she'ein mechitza al gabo, because you haven't got a mechitza above it. Beinoi levein hamayim shebachutz, between it and the main body of water on the outside. Okay, so let's just summarize. What have we said? So just to summarize this siman shin and vav, we're dealing with two different scenarios. In Sif Aleph, we were dealing with primarily pictures number 5 and 6, and there you've got a chotzer, and you've got a chotzer on the back of the guy's house, and you've got an amis hamayim going through. That is essentially a karmelis, and therefore to draw water from the karmelis into your rishus is a problem. You can't go from a karmelis to a rish hayachid. That's an issa drabonon. The solution was you put some mechitzas underneath it. That makes it into now a rish hayachid, and therefore drawing from rish hayachid into your rish hayachid would be okay. And that's what we described in Sif Aleph. In Sif Beis, we're dealing with a different scenario. If you take a look at picture 16. That's that scenario. You've got two houses with a chotzer on the back of it, and you've got a breach in the wall. So if the breach is less than 10 tefachim, then actually you're allowed to draw the water. That's how the Mechaba started. Chotzer shenifritza v'loshnam over al piritza v'eina b'milu v'eina b'piritza yosem asara mutzah l'malas men l'hachnis l'bayis. That would be okay. But the end of the sif is talking about picture 17, where you've got a gap more than 10 tefachim, more than 10 amas, then it depends. If you've got the gap of more than 10 amas, if you've got little bits of the wall which are there, even if the water is covering over these little bits of the fence, you're allowed to fill the water into the chotzer, but not into the house. If none of the gedudim left, then you're not allowed to do into the chotzer itself. But the Mishnah Berurah explained that if you've got a body of water with depth in the chotzer of at least 10 tefachim, then the walls of that guma will actually allow you to draw water from it. Okay, that is the end of that Siman Shin Nun Vav.